Welcome to Updates Area YouTube channel, and don't forget to subscribe the channel. Let's discuss the fourth federal-level stimulus checks and the recent actions taken by Congress that directly affect stimulus funds. It is interesting to note that there are leftover stimulus funds that have not been utilized. While many people are aware of the three federal-level stimulus checks that were distributed, they may not realize that Congress did not spend all of the allocated funds. In fact, there are hundreds of billions of dollars left unutilized. Recently, President Joe Biden signed a debt ceiling deal into law to prevent a historical default. In this bill, it was specified that nearly $30 billion in pandemic relief funds, also known as COVID-19 stimulus funds, would be canceled. These funds were intended to aid the American people, but Congress deemed them unnecessary and decided to reclaim them. This decision has raised concerns among public health advocates who believe these funds should remain available for emergencies. The pandemic emergency declaration has ended, but the economy still faces challenges, such as high inflation. Some argue that using the unspent funds could assist in addressing the current debt issue and help the economy recover. It is essential to consider whether we should move on from the state of the pandemic, given that the emergency declaration has ended, and redirect the funds towards economic recovery. Alternatively, the unspent funds could be used as originally intended to provide direct assistance to the American people. The situation presents a dilemma as we navigate the aftermath of the pandemic while grappling with economic uncertainties. It is crucial to gather opinions on whether the funds should be reclaimed or used for their original purpose. The decision to cancel unspent funds has raised concerns about potential consequences for public health initiatives. Advocacy groups argue that these funds could have been used to support federal public health programs. The debt ceiling deal received bipartisan support, with the House and Senate passing the bill before it was signed into law. According to the White House, some of the reclaimed funds will be redirected to non-defense spending, but specific allocations have not been specified. The Congressional Budget Office states that the majority of reductions will come from the Public Health and Social Services Emergency Fund, as well as certain infrastructure and disaster relief programs. Throughout the pandemic, Congress allocated approximately $5 trillion to various programs and agencies, including the Department of Health and Human Services, Small Business Administration, Department of Veteran Affairs, and Transportation Department. The clawback would involve taking back over $13 billion from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Food and Drug Administration, and other agencies. These funds were initially meant for vaccine efficacy, supply chain monitoring, and other pandemic-related initiatives. The unspent funds were attributed to programs that had concluded or no longer had sufficient demand. To provide a clear picture of the funds, a COVID money tracker has been shared. It shows that out of the $6 trillion allocated through legislative action, approximately $5.7 trillion has been spent, with $300 billion remaining after the clawbacks. This tracker breaks down the distributions, including direct payments or stimulus checks. The three stimulus checks distributed during the pandemic had a total cost of $860 billion. The possibility of using the remaining funds to provide another round of stimulus checks, similar to the initial $1,200 payments, or even the $600 payments, still exists. However, with the current decision to reclaim the funds, this possibility seems unlikely. As more updates on stimulus checks emerge, they will be shared on the channel. Social Security reform is also gaining attention, with the introduction of the Social Security 2100 Act and other related bills. The future of child tax credits is another topic to watch. Stay tuned for further updates on these matters.